I went into the Blackthorn woods alone because I thought I was tougher than the stories. The locals had warned me for weeks. Don't go off the marked trails after sunset, the old woman at the gas station said, her eyes darting like something might be listening. The woods remember what was done to her, and she's still collecting. I laughed. I was writing a book on modern folklore. I needed authentic atmosphere. So I packed light, tent, flashlight, notebook, and hiked deep until the trail disappeared behind me. The first night was beautiful, too beautiful. The trees formed perfect arches overhead, moonlight painting everything silver. I fell asleep to the sound of wind moving through leaves like gentle breathing. I woke up at some point in the night to find my tent flap open. I hadn't opened it. A circle of smooth white stones now surrounded my campsite. Each stone had a single lock of hair placed on top. Different colors, different lengths. Some still had dried blood on the roots. I packed up at first light and tried to leave. The trails were gone. Every direction I walked brought me back to the same small clearing with the circle of stones. My tent was still there, neatly restaked, my sleeping bag laid out invitingly. That's when the whispering started. Not from one direction, from inside the trees themselves. Hundreds of soft female voices overlapping, speaking in a language that hurt to hear. Then, suddenly clear. You came looking for a story, little writer. We have one for you. The witchcraft began at dusk. The trees started moving when I wasn't looking, branches reaching like fingers, then snapping back when I turned. Symbols carved themselves into the bark, old, jagged runes that bled sap the color of rust. I tried running. The forest folded around me, paths twisting like living things until I was back at the stone circle. Night 2, she showed herself, not all at once, pieces. First, a woman's bare foot stepping out from behind a tree, pale, perfect, toes pointing the wrong way. Then a slender arm wrapped in what looked like black vines. Finally, her face. It was my face, but older, hollowed out, eyes completely black, like holes burned through paper. She smiled with my mouth and spoke with a voice made of every woman who had ever screamed in these woods. You wanted witchcraft, she said, tilting her head exactly the way I do when I'm pretending to be brave, so I'm teaching you. The poltergeist activity exploded. My tent ripped open from the inside. My notebook pages tore out and swirled around me, every page now covered in my own handwriting, things I never wrote, detailed descriptions of my childhood fears, my secret shames, my mother's suicide note that I burned years ago. The witch stepped closer. Every time she moved, the trees moved with her, branches twisting into the shape of arms and reaching hands. I was hanged here in 1693, she whispered, now standing only 10 feet away. They accused me of stealing children. I didn't steal them, I wore them, just like I'm going to wear you. She raised her hand. My skin started itching, then burning. I looked down and saw symbols carving themselves into my arms, the same runes from the trees. The pain was exquisite. I screamed. The forest screamed back with 1,000 voices, including my own. I ran. She followed without moving her feet. The trees carried her. Branches lifted and passed her forward like a queen on a living throne. I fell in the small clearing again. The stone circle was now around me. My clothes were gone. I was naked on the cold ground as the witch knelt over me, her face inches from mine. Her black eyes reflected my own terrified face back at me. You'll make such a beautiful tree, she said tenderly, stroking my cheek with fingers that felt like wet bark. Your screams will sound so sweet when the wind moves through you. I felt roots pushing under my skin. I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. I was standing at the edge of the woods, fully dressed, holding my notebook. My car was parked neatly on the side of the road where I'd left it. I drove home shaking. That was 3 weeks ago. The itching never stopped. Last night I woke up to find fresh runes carved into my thighs while I slept, perfectly symmetrical, beautiful. I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. My reflection smiled at me before I did. She stepped closer to the glass and pressed her hand against it. I felt cold bark against my palm. I told you I would wear you, she whispered through my own mouth. You're already growing so well. I'm typing this with one hand. The other hand is slowly growing bark between the fingers. If you ever go into the blackthorn woods looking for a story, don't. The witch doesn't need any more trees, but she's always hungry for new ones.